Yeah, so I've been aware of the Boys and Girls Club program, the Youth Arts Initiative, for a little while now. Alex Zacarias came and talked to me at a show that I did with the Art Hop Collective as well, and just asked me candidly, you know, what do I think about maybe coming in to help the kids write a song? And of course my response was, yeah, of course, why not? Because that's usually my standard response when I don't know any details and there's a potential future endeavor. Yes, let's talk more. Line went cold for a little bit and I just kind of waited for something to come up, and then he eventually reached out and said, here's what we're thinking, here's the theme, can you do this? You know, with regards to the information I was given leading up to the program, I think I was given actually a pretty substantial amount as far as mission, as far as what the goal of the program is and what the goals of these types of teaching artist series look like. As far as specifically what we were going to accomplish week by week, that was left pretty open to my interpretation, which I think in a way was good because that's why you brought me in, to be the professional and to make those decisions on what the actual series was going to progress like. Knowledge is power against crooks and cowards. I'm hungry to devour. I said we need to read books. Unchain your brain. It took years to train you. Never meant to be tamed. Y'all, we need to read books. Knowledge is power against crooks and cowards. I'm hungry to devour. Coming into the club, you know, I kind of assumed before coming in that there would be like a background check and things like that to ensure that, you know, you're bringing someone that's reputable into the club and not putting the kids in any risk or danger or anything like that. So pretty standard stuff like that, and that was really simple and easy and straightforward. Otherwise, just boilerplate, as if you're applying for any other type of job, you know, W-9 information and social security number, bank account if you want direct deposit, and getting all that kind of stuff set up. The one thing I think could have been maybe smoother was a specific timeline for how we want to handle payment, how we want to handle compensation. That could be partly on my end because I hadn't sent out an invoice. I was kind of asking if I should send an invoice and waiting for an answer and didn't end up getting one. Perhaps I should have sent one directly and then asked later whether or not that was acceptable practice. But all in all, I don't have any complaints about it, but I think both ends probably could have been a little bit more proactive in hashing out the details before getting started. So yeah, with regards to existing staff cooperating with a teaching artist, I think my suggestion would be to ensure that someone is on site, at least at the beginning, if not at all times. For one, I mean, it's easy to get outnumbered with kids who have freedom. You know, they could leave if they want, they could come back if they want, essentially. So it's good to have more than one adult to help manage everything that's going on. As far as dealing with any potential problems, I was fortunate that not very much came up. You know, there were a couple of things just verbally that came up as far as kids sharing their experiences. That was potentially sharing traumatic experiences with me. But for me, I was able to just listen and everything was all right. We moved on. But yeah, my suggestion would be to have someone who does have that rapport, who is going to be present and who's going to be assistive during the teaching artist process. Because I think being here for a short window, it's more fruitful for us to pay all of our attention to the creativity, to the educational opportunities, to making connections in that light, and kind of giving the kids tools and empowering them to be able to be part of the process. I definitely had to take some time and kind of make some notes to think about what's going into it outside of the hours that I'm actually here. You know, I'm here for 3 hours a week, but how much time is spent leading up to the series in order to establish the curriculum? how much time am I going to be having to spend, you know, in the evenings arranging stuff that the kids have made, or sending out emails, or in the case of this songwriting, arranging the song so that I can send back MP3 and WAV formats for the kids to be able to have access to. I needed to think about the post-production, so to speak, or the culmination of the series, which in this case would be going into the recording studio after the series is through. So what we did for this particular program was a 5-week series, 2 days a week, 1.5 hours per day. That was the window that just aligned well with the students' meal times as well as my availability. So that's what we chose for this round. So adding that up, I had, 5 weeks, 3 hours, 15 hours of actual time in here. But what about travel? What about equipment that maybe I need? In the case of this program, I did purchase some new equipment in order to bring with me. So I wanted to kind of factor that in. Obviously, I'm going to be continuing to use that equipment later on, so I didn't really factor the entire cost into that, but it was something that played into mind when I was thinking about the total amount that I would need in order to really make this happen and make it work for myself and my family and all that kind of stuff as well. So you can't overthink it, really, is what I would say to teaching artists coming in. Songwriting is something that I just do all the time. So for me, it was kind of like, how can I break this down in a way that's accessible? How can I chop this up into pieces that are manageable? And then how can I convey my process directly to kids who maybe have zero experience with songwriting, with really with even listening to music in a critical manner, as not everyone does. So coming up with the curriculum, basically I came up with just some bullet points. I knew that there were benchmarks we would have to hit in order to finish on time. So we had our 5-week timeline. Okay, week 5, the song is done. Week 4, okay, what's a realistic amount that we can do in 1 week? All right, let's set the benchmarks, boom, boom, boom. Week 3, so working backwards from that deadline is a good way to do it, I think, because then you can find out, oh, wow, week 1, I'm expected to do 40% of the stuff. That's not going to happen. Week 1 really ultimately turned out to be get to know the kids, establish a relationship, get them interested to come back week 2. When it came to this specific program, I will say there were times where I had to really check myself, and say, I know what I would do right now, but this isn't my song to write. I have to walk that line of, here's a lead, take it and run with it, versus here's what would be really good, let's do this. And that was a learning process for me, because as a solo artist, I'm used to, oh, that's a great idea, boom, let's go. Oh, that's a great idea, let's follow that. So for this particular instance, I wanted to take my ideas out of it, even, and as much as possible. There were times when the youth artists were floundering and didn't really have direction, and that's okay. So I gave them a compass, and then it ended up working out. But there definitely took patience. For me is kind of easy, I think, in this respect, because coming into this program, first of all, I have the confidence that we're going to end up with a song. I've written plenty of songs. It's not that hard. We're going to have a song, whether it's good or not, we'll see. But we're going to have a song. I wasn't too worried about having an end product. What I was really focused on was getting them to make it, as opposed to me showing them how I make it. So I did a little bit of, here's one of my songs, here's how I did this, just to show some process, just to show these are some tools that you can use. And I was really careful to separate that from, here's the project we're going to work on. What do you think? How do you hear this going? What do you want to be said? So it is a challenging thing to step back and not lead so much as a teacher, like you said, and more as a collaborator. And that's been really cool for me. I've got to be a little bit more conductor than performance artist. So that's what brought me here. A desire to educate kids on the arts and to spread real hip hop and musicianship through the youth sector, because hip hop has one of the most grand impacts when it comes to the youth.